Okay, first of all, we have the approval of minutes. The minutes from the previous meeting have been sent. Any corrections to the minutes?
Make a motion to accept as written.
Motion by John,
Second.
by Fred. Any discussion? No further discussion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First of all, we have Bi-County Services, Tim Ramsey.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I've got paper copies. I think everybody probably received the electronic version, but it's like a.
Thank you.
This is always the best way.
Next, we have Brad with the Highway Department. He's seeking an additional $20,000 for culverts. Brad, you want to talk about that?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So at the beginning of this year, as you all know, a lot of things got a lot harder to get, and the prices on everything went up. So at the beginning of the year, we had placed an order for culverts and pipes for our own stock, so when the guys go out and work, we have it. And about a month ago, maybe a month and a half, we started hearing from all of our suppliers, hey, we don't have it, and if we can't guarantee when we are going to get it, So at that point, and also the price they said was going to go up 40%. So we're like, well, trying to think ahead, let's get this ordered, or, be ready to place an order. And that way we have it on hand, and that way we can continue to work throughout the year and possibly in the next year if we can't get this stuff. So we were just looking ahead on this part of it, just so we have it, so we can continue to go out and keep the guys working and fixing stuff and replacing stuff.
So it's the normal amount of culverts, but because of the price increase, because I know steel and everything's at all-time highs right now.
Yep.
I'm fully aware of that.
Yep. Yeah, the suppliers told us if they could even get it, here coming up, they don't know when they're going to get it. And a lot of the pricing also, they said, is the companies are not going to give you a price until it goes out the door. That's where it's at.
Right.
So we just saw trying to get ahead of it and have plenty.
So is all this stuff part of our, like a standard maintenance plan we try to do every year? Is that what we're replacing, or do we?
Yeah, it's, people want driveway entrances put in, we have pipe for that. Stuff under the road, like culverts, catch basins go bad, we have it for that. So yes, it is things we do every year.
Any further questions for Brad? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to accept.
Brad made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
John? Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Brad. Next, we have John August with EMA. He has a grant request.
Good morning.
Morning.
What I'm here for is to get the signature of Yvette and later with the commissioner
Thank you, John. Motion carries.
Okay.
Stan, if you want to come on up.
Hey, thanks for the time this morning. I'm here to talk about our HR position. And one of the things I want to recognize is the person that's currently working for us and has submitted a resignation is Erin Hackman. She is an excellent employee, and I'd just like to applaud her for going above and beyond and just doing an excellent job for us in the auditor's office. So we certainly wish her well in her new endeavor, because she has done a world of good for us. One of the things that we would like to do with her resignation is to replace that position with someone who is dedicated to HR duties. And we've decided that that would be, a best fit for us would be an HR coordinator. So that HR coordinator position would fall under the budget of the auditor's office. And so Tony has done some research and came up with an appropriate wage scale of $47,500 to $52,800. And so what you see as an additional appropriation of $60,000 is not actually an additional $60,000. Erin currently makes, as a salary, just under $38,000, or just under $37,000, I'm sorry. It's like $36,878 or something. So the additional would be the difference between that and whatever the new salary is. One of the things that was proposed, and I think Yvette proposed, actually asking for an appropriation up to $60,000. And I think you probably felt that was more appropriate for that position.
It gave us some wiggle room.
So, that would, but just so you know, we advertised it within that range of $47,500 to $52,800. So we are currently had advertised for applications, and we're doing probably 5 or 6 interviews tomorrow. And we would like to have you decide what wage range you think is appropriate for that position and what we can talk to the applicants about. So, but that position, like I say, it will be out of the auditor's budget, but being an HR position, we'll answer to the commissioners from
Chain of command.
chain of command, yeah. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at, and hopefully that'll make sense.
So the wage committee has talked back and forth or emailed back and forth, and we talked about counties close to us in size that have these same HR positions. And we talked about the wages. So Huntington County has an HR at $56,000. Steuben County is $59,000, and Whitley County is $51,000. So the average of those HR positions is $55,400. If we wanted to go with an average of the counties similar to size with us, it'd be $55,400. And I think we all kind of agreed that that would be a good starting number for an HR.
So yeah, I'm certainly open for discussion, suggestions, and what you all would like to have us present to the applicants.
I think we also agreed that that would be a good, it's a good candidate to come out of the EX or the NE positions and into an uncategorized, because it is, an HR professional is much more a professional position than a regular categorized position. So
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense too.
Sounds reasonable to me.
So Keith, do you have that spreadsheet pulled up? If we did 55, I don't know, just say 55,400, what would be the total benefit cost to the county?
Close to 70.
It's
What's
going to
that?
be more than that.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
In our discussions in the past, we have been hoping to move towards a dedicated HR position. And so what this has done is allow us to move to a dedicated HR position without adding an additional employee. So as much as we hate to see Aaron leave, it has given us an opportunity to change this position.
Well, with the current rate for benefits, it looks like this position, it would take it to 67.4.
With that calculation, that spreadsheet?
Of new cost, you're saying?
I'm sorry,
That's 64 of new cost, or that's the total?
I gotta be total.
That'd be total.
I think that's the total, right?
That including perk?
Yeah, that's fully vested, I believe, is what that calculation.
Is the
HR
insurance
position.
cost
maybe
would be different?
What's that?
Insurance is 31,000.
No, that can't be right. That's in addition, so,
Because the insurance would be fixed at this point, right? I mean, it's the same cost, so that shouldn't change.
let me look at this.
Do you have that worksheet, Corey?
Actually, it's an additional 40, almost 45,000 is what the insurance cost, the spreadsheet that was sent out is what
I have no idea. I've never used AirDrop.
it looks like it was here. This is the first time that I've looked at this
Okay.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's why, when the agenda went out, it was a bit misleading in that the additional appropriation was $60,000. And I guess I didn't understand that it would be additional above what we are currently allocating for that employee.
Really, benefits aren't gonna change. It's really the salary. So everything else will be the same. So,
Well,
I
the
mean,
perf,
Benefits could change.
yeah, the perf would, and so
If
would,
we get someone that needs a family plan, then we're gonna be paying 31,000 a year.
but we
But right
can't.
now,
yeah, but
it's
you
not.
can't discriminate against
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But we're allocating. What I'm saying is if we go with this position, then we're allocating up to that amount.
So we have to be higher than that to foresee a family insurance plan.
So the total employee salary with benefits would be 107,381.15, so little over 107,000.
And the current is, subtract from the current, right? So take 107 minus the
Almost
current.
82, I think, is what it currently is, right? With everything.
Was her, I don't know what her pay was.
But
$87.
if that's what this is,
36,878.
yeah, okay, so then according to the spreadsheet, her total comp was 81,745.
So it's only an additional of 26,
5,000.
basically.
And for the year, it's less than that. It'd be prorated.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
So are you just gonna are you gonna submit a transfer then to move from
Like
one
I
line
say, it's out
item
of
to the
Tony's
next?
budget, so I don't know how. Tony, how would you like to do it? I mean, you currently have budgeted for Aaron's salary for the rest of the year.
Between the additional and what Aaron has left, I'm hoping that covers it for the rest of the year. I'm thinking it will. We don't know that the person coming in will get on a family plan or whatever, or if they have their own insurance, who knows? But what we have left and the additional, I would hope that would be enough to cover it. Otherwise, we'll find somewhere to transfer from.
So the difference between the two,
What's remaining in Aaron's into that, of course.
the difference between the two would be 25,000.
So is that what we need a
Which is,
motion for that then? or-
which is basically the wage, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, depending on what wage range or what wage range you decide to offer, that obviously will affect the appropriation.
Dan, I don't remember, was this a requirement for a BS degree or BA?
We did ask for a requirement of a BS.
That's what I remember. But what discipline are you looking for by way of a BS?
Actually, you know, there was no specific discipline, but we did ask very strongly for specific HR experience. Because we've had some applicants that applied with a BS degree, but with strong HR experience, because what we would like to see is when this person comes in, there will be a probationary time of, you know, familiarizing themselves with our systems. But as far as from the HR standpoint, they basically will have to hit the ground running, as far as HR is concerned. So that's why we really are emphasizing the HR experience with our applicants.
Tony?
We specifically put it out there, bachelor's with no discipline required, but 5 years human resources experience. That was what we put out. And we actually put that out on Indeed, which really helped because that's where we got the bulk of the good resumes from that actually qualified under what we were looking for.
Are you getting applicants with a human resources degree?
I think there was a couple
Are there?
that did have that degree. No.
It was interesting, we had some applicants that were way overqualified. Yeah, it's always interesting when you look through them.
Well, this is something council has promoted along with the commissioners for a long, long time.
I think there's a lot of benefits to having a dedicated HR position.
This is probably the third most important function of county government.
I can't imagine a business this size with the amount of employees that doesn't have a dedicated HR person, just from a liability standpoint with things.
Well, and that was one of the things is over the last year or so, when we had discussions with Erin, she continually pointed out the need, both from a positive standpoint of management and training, and also the liability of not having.
Yeah, I just can't imagine it.
This was a real strong encouragement for us to do this. And like I say, as hard as it was with her resigning, it did make it much more available to do this without adding.
So are we actually looking for an additional of the full 60 or the difference? If it's the difference, it's roughly 30, right?
I guess, if you would, I mean, we proposed the additional, but I guess one of the things we would like to see is what salary range do you want us to talk to the applicants about?
Well, it sounds like we have an average of 55.4, you said, and I'm totally comfortable, with starting there, I think. Yeah, sounds reasonable.
Do you want to do a range, or do you want to do just a salary?
We might as well set it, and then you get that person in, and they can start as soon as you hire them. And then you don't have to wait for council to make another decision.
I have a question regarding Erin leaving. Would this HR person do her job?
There will be some duties, but some of the duties will be shifted to other department employees. And Tony can answer that better than I can.
In the discussions involving this position, we had also talked to Mark Burry, because admittedly, this position will decrease some of his hours, because this person will know the laws and how to be compliant, and will have to bother Mark a lot less, so that would save money right there. And he knew that and said he'd walk him a few hours off his plate. Right now, the way that I'm thinking is this person, whomever it may be, will start in there where Erin is now, because she and Bree will have to confer over who's going to be able to do what, because Bree is going to take some of the actual payroll so that the human resources person can focus on actual human resources. That's what they need to focus on. There will be some division in there. We just aren't sure exactly what that's going to look like yet until this person gets in there and we discuss it. And I think eventually this person will have their own office once the commissioners determine where that's going to be and so forth. They'll have their own office. So
There's gonna be,
auditor's office will be one person down.
there's gonna be a little bit of a learning curve. There's gotta be.
Yeah,
It's
we'll
so
have
different,
to
so.
learn it, but we'll be one person down. I don't know, maybe forever. I don't know how long, but I think the biggest effect of that is really lunches, vacations, sick leave, stuff like that. We'll have one less person to be in there to take care of the deeds, the deductions, because that's a pretty busy office. So we'll just have to figure all that out, and we will. We'll get it figured out.
There are these applicants going to be made aware that it's going to be a multi-role, that it's not going to be exclusively HR. They're going to be
Most
working.
HR has some payroll with it. It already has some of that.
Okay.
I think the purpose for the commissioners is to find a good medium and limit that as much as possible so that they can actually focus on the changing laws of HR and do training and all the things an HR person needs to do. Excuse me.
I was just making sure that they knew the duties they were signing up for and not feeling.
It's in the job description.
Okay.
Yeah. And they all received, that was put out. So they all saw the job description, and that's listed in there.
Did I send that to you guys? I thought I sent the job description.
You did.
So, yeah, with the wide variation of the applicants that we got with some, towards the lower end of experience and some that I say that are overqualified. A range is always nice, especially since it's non-classified, that we would have some negotiation with them as far as, but that's up to you, how you want to do that.
I have a concern about who would be her boss. Would it be the commissioners? Would it be the auditor?
Commissioners.
Commissioners.
I
So-
think as an HR person, because it falls within our duties to hire and fire.
I understand that. That's why I asked the question.
That's why it's kind of a mixed position with falling under the auditor from a budget standpoint, but falling under the commissioners for.
Dennis, that was state statute. We called the State Board of Accounts to ask, and they said by statute, an HR person has to be under the auditor's budget because it does involve some payroll. So that's why it's in our budget, but they will report to the commission.
Thank you.
So we just have to decide on the amount. Is that what we're,
In order to keep this clean for the minutes, I'd like to have a motion for the actual salary, and then we do another motion, separate motion for the additional appropriation.
So I'd make a motion, the salary, I think I would put it to a range to give them a little wiggle room like you're referring to and say 55 to 60,000 is what I would be comfortable with at starting.
Yeah, I think we'd appreciate that.
So I would make a motion for a range of 55 to 60,000.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? So with the range, Stan, though, you can't hire someone and have them start until we approve it. So if this,
Isn't it approved in that range?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's approved in the
That's-
range.
so
That's
that
why
he'll
they
have
can
to
go
come
up.
back before us next month to get the actual amount set for us. Because we are the ones that set it.
I think anywhere within that range, they can hire it. That's what.
Yeah, that's why we're given a range.
Yeah.
Yeah, cannot go below
You can't
55 and cannot
below or
go above
that
60.
range, but if it's in that range, they don't have to come back.
I think the applicants would be made aware of that range, and then with the understanding that the final salary would be determined by council. So,
Are we assuming that correct, Julie Marie?
That is correct. We can put it in the motion that you are approving a salary range between 55 and 60 and leave it to the discretion of the hiring person or body to determine that.
I guess my concern would be, should we approve the position before we set the salary?
No, because the commissioners determined that. So they've determined that. Our role is the salary.
We've approved the position. So, yeah, so whatever you want to do as far as the salary is what we'll offer and talk to the applicants about.
So the motion is for 55 to 60,000, even though the average is 55. So if they go to 60,000, are we okay with that?
I mean,
Yeah, it was just an average. I mean, basically all that was. And if,
I don't know that
No
I'd make,
other county was at 60,000.
I don't know if I'd make the applicants aware of what the range is. I mean.
well, they'll
it
be
is
made aware
negotiated, But,
for the
Read the
meeting.
paper.
oh, yeah, true.
Or if they're watching this meeting right now.
Yeah, good point.
Good
Yeah, cut it off.
Well, that's what I think we've typically done.
And you don't have to do 60. They can say if the person that they're interested in is okay with 57, they say 60, and it will. We're comfortable at 57, they could stay at 57.
If we come back and recommend in the higher end of the range, hopefully we'll be able to justify why we're off.
Or we can put the average right in the middle and say a range of 52 to 57. If everybody's more comfortable with that.
Or we could just set it at 57.5.
When I were back to just pulling averages. Now we're at the average of the discussion.
45 to 60, that would cover the average and higher unless somebody's more qualified. Because the average in the state for this position is 47.5. So you can go 45 to 60 if you want to.
What
And if
did you
get
say,
somebody
Tony?
who's like super qualified that just loves small counties and wants to come and work with HR, then he could go higher.
What did you say that average was to say?
The average in the state overall, for some higher, some lower, is 47.5.
Okay.
Is that for county government or is that?
And what
That's
are,
for any coordinator position, not just county government.
what do you want,
Okay.
Stan? Like, what would you want us to do?
Well, I guess, I would feel comfortable, would you guys feel comfortable offering a range as we talk to the applicants or having a range? Because I know with all the applicants we've got, there's quite a variation.
There's a big variation. Yeah, we even got one that has a doctor's degree that wants to come to work for county government. Yeah. I mean, she's got all sorts of certificates and everything else. But I had called because I thought, did she really read the advertising? And she said she did. I said, well, why would you want to come and work for a small county? Because with her doctor's degree and everything, she said, I just want to get back into county government.
What was the range you advertised? Maybe we just stick with that.
What was that, Tony? It was what, 48?
47.5 to 52.8. 52.850 or something like that.
52.8.
I think,
But somebody
give us a
overqualified like
range.
that might not work for.
I'd be a little concerned with someone with a doctorate that would just start here, we put all this money in training, and then they're gone as soon as they get the training.
Well, that's why we, when Rex talked to her, he questioned that. So we're looking at the applicants real close. So.
The question is really, do we leave the range? I think we should leave the range.
And I don't remember what your motion was. What?
55 to 60.
So actually, I'll amend it. I'll say a range of 47 to 57,000. Is everybody comfortable there?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, so we have,
And John had
Oh,
seconded.
that's already seconded, sorry.
I
Yeah.
seconded his prior.
So is that a new motion that Corey has now
Yeah.
seconded?
Yes.
Or did he just amend the first motion and John is still the second?
Think
I don't know the technicalities. I amended my motion.
Okay. I don't know.
John, are you good with that? Are you good with seconding that, or do we need to go with the
That's fine,
40
John,
second?
go ahead. You got it.
Whatever.
I just put you both down.
Deal.
And now we need the additional, right?
Well, any further discussion concerning this motion? No further discussion, we'll call this to a vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so now we need the additional. Which,
So our range is up to 57, Aaron makes 37, right?
Yeah, just.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So, we just determined that the difference was roughly 20 to 25,000,
And then you're
So-
only half of the year. like
and
you're
it's
saying.
prorated, so $20,000 additional for the year should cover it, or 25.
Because you're still gonna have, you're not adding benefits, but you're still going to have, if they come in and get benefits like Aaron currently has, you're not adding new benefits, but you're still going to have those benefits. So you wanna make sure between that.
We need to cover
You
the,
have,
You
you
don't
have
have
the remaining
100%.
salary for the rest of the year for
that's not
Aaron,
very much.
but you're also going to have benefits continuing.
Or you're 7%.
Yeah, but that's not an
Make sure
additional.
It's enough to cover all that, so I don't have to come back and ask for another additional before the end of the year.
But worst case, even if it's the full 20,000, you've got your perf, which is what, 12%? So roughly your 2,000 for that, and then your payroll tax, which is like 8%. So worst case, you're adding 20% total, which would be 4,000. Because the health insurance is gonna be a net neutral. So worst case, you're spending 24 over the course of a year, prorated out. You know, we're not quite halfway through the year yet. So 20 should be way over, I would think.
Does that sound okay with your?
For the remainder of this year.
Yeah, that's just for the rest of the year, not the whole year.
And then next year it's in the budget, right?
Right,
Yeah, next year the budget would have to go up to accommodate
yeah.
Right.
the salary. I mean, that should work. If worst comes to worst, I'll just have to come before you guys again and ask for more.
You're gonna be here anyhow.
I'll be here. Hey, Yvette, can you change the amount on what I handed you? I hadn't changed it once.
Yeah.
And just change the amount, and it's actually, if we white it out and put in the correct amount, they can still sign it, it's still legitimate.
Okay.
Because I asked that question already, so. We just need to change the new math once they
Yep.
do that.
okay, so are we
I'll make
doing
a
an
motion for
additional?
25.
25,000?
Sorry, 20.
20,000.
Second.
Okay, so Corey and Fred,
That was how much?
20.
20,000. Any further discussion? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Stan.
Thank you, yes.
Thanks.
Okay, next thing is the county council. We had advertised an additional appropriation for $2,000 for legal fees. However, I'm only asking for $197. Last year, there was a change in how we paid the attorneys, and the money didn't get appropriated to the right line items. We had more in Julie Marie's actual salary than legal fees. There's been bills against the legal fees, so we're short $197 right now. Next month, I'll come before council with a transfer from her salary line item to come into the legal fees line item. But just to get this bill paid, I'm requesting an additional appropriation for $197 to get this bill paid.
Make a motion.
Keith made the motion.
I'll second.
Kathy second. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's see here. Other matters, I think we've discussed every other thing that was on our agenda, correct? I believe so.
Do we want to show that Excel that you made? or-
We can.
Have the additional salary on the stuff under me.
Yeah, give me a couple seconds here. Unless you want to discuss that now, Tony?
What's that?
I
think I gave you everything.
Let me look here. Okay, we have two amended salaries, prosecuting attorney and a jailer. Any questions concerning that? No? Do I have a motion to approve the amended salary ordinance?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
John and Fred? Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Tony, I don't think there were transfers, correct?
No.
Do you have anything else, Tony?
The additionals, I think you already did all of them.
Yes. No other auditor report, Tony? Okay. All right, so other matters, the council and commissioners are going to have a joint session on May 17th to discuss budgets. I've been talking with Tony. Budget instructions will go out to the department heads after our meeting on May 17th. Baker Tilly will be hosting a training for department heads on May 25th at 1:30. We're discussing about having this training at the jail.
It's the 25th or the 26th?
It's the Tuesday after Memorial Day.
I think it's 25.
Tuesday, so it's the 25th.
The 25th, yes,
All right.
okay.
I had, our room was clear the 26th. Let me check real quick.
Okay.
See if it's good for the 25th. I think it is, but let me check.
Okay, thank you. We would like to make this mandatory so that we have all department heads there, so everyone can hear the same thing all at once and ask Baker Tilly questions while they're there. If a department head cannot attend, they can have a designated rep there. Council, please make contact with your department heads so that we are aware of their needs for next year by the May 17th work session that we have.
You want to say anything about what that work session looks like, or?
If you want to discuss that.
Tony and myself, and then think of that, you were on that call as well, talked with Baker Tilly just to kind of get an idea what their plan, what's the plan, what are we looking at, what's happening. And roughly, I don't have the document in front of me, so don't quote me on all these dates, but roughly, basically, they are going through right now and building out all of the projected revenue. So they're going through using unemployment numbers to try and figure out what they think our income tax is going to be, all that kind of stuff. So they're building that out. What they will do then at our special meeting is basically say, here's what we have to work with. Here's how much money we think we're going to have next year. Based on that, we will determine some policy level decisions on what's the number that each department gets. Within that number, the department can pretty well set for themselves their budget. Then essentially when we get to August, they can look at it and say, I can't, if they couldn't fit within the number that we gave them, we have those workshops that we used to have in September, and that's the time where they come back and say, I couldn't fit in that number, here's why, and we figure out where does that money come from, if that's the case. Then we get to the September meetings, and at that point, it's basically rubber stamp at that point. So the big policy level decisions will be the ones at that special meeting where that's where we're deciding what do we want that tax rate to be next year, what do we generically, what's the guidance we want to give to everybody, all the department heads, and then they can build their budget within that. Obviously, we get to review it, but it gives them a whole lot more ability to determine for themselves what they're doing. And it also helps us to make the decision where we can see the whole picture instead of just seeing a little piece of it all at one time. So I think it'll be a real smooth process. But she'll be here to meet with us at that special meeting. We'll make those hard decisions then. And then, or not hard, I guess, just important ones. And then the department heads will, from there, they'll get to decide how they, they'll submit their budgets with those parameters in place. And then if they can't fit within that, then that's where we'll talk and figure out what's going on. So I'm encouraged. I think it'll be pretty simple and pretty good.
And we're gonna have this meeting, you said May
17th.
17th.
Yeah, it'll be here in this room.
Evening?
6 o'clock. The department head training though, we're trying to see if we
It's
can.
good for the 25th.
Okay, awesome.
Basically all afternoon.
We'll start at 1:30.
Yeah, not a problem.
So then we can have all the department heads there. That'd be great. Awesome. Also,
Stan.
yes,
Can you repeat those dates and times for me?
sure. The 17th is for the special work session for the council and commissioners at 6 o'clock. And then the department head training will be May 25th at 1:30.
And where is the May 17th at here?
Here, yes.
Okay.
May 25th will be at the jail,
And what time is that?
1:30, yes. Yes. Next thing is, this month, I attended AIC's budget and finance class and came out with a ton of information. I learned that the council's supposed to be tracking our revenues. We're supposed to be tracking our progress through the budgets. We're supposed to be seeing the final numbers, what we're projecting for the ending balance, the 12/31 balance on all of our funds. So I came back and spent 3 hours with Tony and Christy trying to figure out how do I get all these numbers and how do I calculate it into an Excel spreadsheet that we can update on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, so that when we make these decisions, we are informed as to what our ending balance will be. So I came up with, just quickly, in the last several days, 2 of our accounts, county general and our health department funds, and this is what that looks like. I'm going to go through and do all of our tax-driven funds. So I think there are like six or 8 funds. So I'll be working on that in the next month. So you'll see as of to date, which we need to change the additional appropriation for May number there. So that would be, we did 20,000. So that should be 20,197 for the additional.
We did a couple others too, didn't we?
Just affecting county general was
Oh, okay,
that.
yeah. How much is it, 21?
20,197. Yep. So you'll see in this then throughout the year our additional appropriations, and that corresponds with, I think it's B13 you'll see on that sheet. We've appropriated $455,000 for the year. You'll see that our revenues, we predicted on the 1782 notice that amount, and Corey, if you can scroll over. On our monthly financial reports, you'll see that as of April, we're at 32% in our total revenue collections. Our expenses are the green numbers, so our budget is $14.1 million, and as of April, we've spent 32% of our budget. So then right now, our projected county general ending balance for 12/31 will be $4.3 million. Based on the additional appropriations and all the expenses and revenues. So we will update this monthly, and if you want, I can have Tony send it out to everyone. I wasn't sure if everyone wanted those numbers regularly.
I am very excited about this. I love this, because to me what this does is when we go to do an additional appropriation, we know what the effect is. We know what we're doing to the cash balance. So this is just general, we're saying, right?
Yep,
So
that's
there'll be
county
one
general.
of these for the different funds. And then when additional appropriation comes, we'll know, okay, well, we're planning on ending at 4.3. What would this do to that? So I really like that, because to me it's back to the whole forest thing again. Like, we're making a decision with the whole forest in mind, not just 1 or 2 trees.
So Tony is also taking that training, and then this is what I gathered out of it. So when Tony takes it, I'll be interested to see what additional information he thinks that we need, because they were talking about all kinds of different forms and calculations, and so it'll be interesting to see what additional he gets from it, and then maybe we can add to our additional information we're supposed to be getting on a monthly basis.
Yeah, Bree sent out a report. It was the same thing as this, but a lot more complicated, and it wasn't interactive, and that's phenomenal that you can, but it had percentages, but you really didn't know what else would happen, where you can plug and play with that one.
So when Bree usually sends the reports out at the beginning of the month, then I can take those financial numbers that we have and plug it into this, and then we can see exactly where we are. Tony?
Just gonna say, a lot of these numbers, as we were sitting there between the 1782 notice and the Gateway site, That's, I think where all these came from.
It's just consolidating them, basically, put them all together. See, like, to me, I'm just looking at this and just thinking out loud, but I see, like, for example, that January 1 cash balance was 6 million, and the path we're on, we're planning, I mean, that's a great number to be at 6, but we're going to end at 4.3 based on the current, what we've already decided with the budget and everything else. So to me, that's helpful to know when you're making decisions.
So if anyone is interested in taking that training, it's still available by recording. Just let us know and we can get you signed up. It was, I think I sat through, it was about 2 hours. And very helpful, extremely helpful. So I would encourage everyone to take it. There also, DLGF also has a budget overview and budget workshop preparation class that they're doing on May 19th. They have 10 and 2 o'clock, and those are free. If anyone's interested, that's by webinar that you can do that if you're interested. There is a AIC State Board of Accounts training at the end. I think it's June 26th. If anyone is interested, that's in Hendricks County. That's all the trainings that I know of at this point. I believe AIC is going to have a second budget and finance training class as well. Any council comments concerning meetings with your designated department heads?
Well, for the planning commission, there's a lot going on with that. There was a big meeting in Monroe recently. Yvette was there, I saw her, and Stan was there, saw him. I'm not sure if anybody else was or not, but the big thing is gonna be planning commission's working on the ordinance that they would present to the commissioners about setbacks and just the whole rules and regulations around solar farms. So I was surprised. It was about a 60-40 split, I think, if I had to guess. 60 against, 44. So.
On the board or people that were there?
People that were there, yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. And then we're still working on, I had to cut out of the last meeting early for the animal shelter. So I'm not sure when our next one is, but we're still working on, obviously our deadline's coming for Charlie Bowers to resign his position as the head of that. So we're still working on a building, and I think we want to get, Stan will be able to probably give us a few more details there, but I think we have people to run it and stuff, but the building right now I think is the biggest hang up. So go ahead, Stan.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we did send out notifications asking for letters of interest from people if you had a building, and wanted to run the shelter, if you wanted to just catch animals. So we were just at this time asking for letters of interest, and then we're going to contact those people with the specifications and hopefully be able to contract with somebody to take over that service. So, but yeah, I appreciate you coming in and helping with that. And Kathy has been coming in and helping with that. So, we've been real good cooperation from Mayor Rickard in Decatur and Mayor Sprunger, and from representative from Monroe, Deb Geisler, and also from Geneva, Arlen, Kathy's husband, Arlen, is coming. So just a real good group, real good cooperation from everybody.
Kathy,
From
do
Paul's also, yeah.
you have any comments concerning that board that you want to make?
Not at this time. I just waiting for things to come in. It's all been put out there.
Yes, sir.
Do we know, will the hours of animal pickup be more regulated, or where under Charlie it was after 5 p.m. because he had another job? Do we know, is this going to be a mandate that they are picking up all day long, or is it going to be the same type of pickup after 5 p.m. only?
I don't know if we have that mandated as far as hours. I'll have to go through the spec.
Okay.
I'll go through the spec sheets.
So the one thing that's a little bit different than us versus some of the surrounding counties is, like you said, Charlie had a regular job. I think surrounding counties have more of a full budget and more of a facility and stuff available. I think long-term, we've talked about trying to make get a facility so we don't run into this predicament, down the line. But I would say, for example, help me out here, Stan, is it Wells County that has a $200,000 budget for their animal shelter?
Yeah, Wells County does.
So.
They also have 3 full-time people.
Yeah, and their own facility and things of that nature. Yeah, so it's, we've been, to have this service, we've been getting by on the cheap for a long time. So, there could be some proposals for a much different look down the road.
Yeah, we certainly don't expect to have that kind of budget, but it's gonna be different than what we've seen in the past, for sure.
So this will be something we definitely need to talk about at the May 17th meeting, when we start seeing our numbers for next year's
Most
budget.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully we'll have more information from people that are interested by that. So yeah, hopefully in the May meeting or the,
But I would say it would still be unknown by May, honestly.
but yeah, that's why it's kind of nice to have Fred and Kathy come and participate in the meetings, so, they know what's coming up as far as what the budget's.
Okay. Julie Marie, I skipped over the county auditor or county attorney report. Do you have anything that you need to report?
No, not today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any citizen comments? We only have 2 citizens over there. Okay, any department head comments? Any other matters properly presented?
I don't know, do we, I probably should have said something in the department one, but for the sheriff's office, I know we're looking at possibly updating the matrix down the road here. So they've got a couple of officers that we probably want to move out of, basically into the matrix. So most of the officers are already in it, but some of them are just not. So we're going to need to update that matrix. So that's something that's coming up to be aware of, especially as we get into budget stuff next month. So I probably should have said that earlier.
Any other business?
So I've had a few people approach me about difficulty getting on our agenda. Do we have a problem with that? Or I'm not fully aware of how exactly to get on. I mean, do they approach you? Do they approach us? How do people do that?
They approach me and then we can get them on.
Okay.
Yep.
Why did that change from the auditor's office to you?
Streamline it.
Okay.
Not that I have anything on this, but my understanding, just on a side note, and Julie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but typically my understanding is the chair of any board is in charge of that agenda. And for some reason, historically, probably just because the auditor was always here, always in person, that probably historically they just started doing it at some point. So.
Actually, it was specifically changed. The county council in 2018, December 11th, 2018 minutes adopted a form of procedure. The county council manual put together, I believe Dennis put it together, and it specifically indicated that the auditor would set the agenda, and the agenda was put in there. So
And is that why, Dennis?
is the way that it was done.
Was that why? Was that the reasoning? Just basically because they're here all the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that auditor's function deals so much with most of the agenda items anyway, so finance, I'm saying. And there is something that concerns me, though, about having a single gateway to the agenda. And is there an appeals process where somebody really feels that they need to be here and you don't allow it? If that's the case, I'm thinking that you're the judge and the jury all together, and I don't think that's the proper responsibility of the board president.
I mean, they would have, I don't know if that's happening, but if it is, I think there's still the department head. I mean, the floor is open at the end, for anybody to say anything. Department head had have a chance, and so does citizens. I mean, if there's a problem, obviously, let's talk about it, but everybody would have that option, I guess.
Because we have after the deadline, they have the chance of other matters properly presented to come in and discuss. So it falls under that.
Well, I think it comes to the point that we were made aware that requests were made and denied. And I'm not sure why or, what reason they were denied to be put on the agenda.
If it's a budget and I felt that it was something that is going to affect next year's budget, then I want to talk about our May 17th meeting so we have some answers, and then we can approach them and talk with them about the budget at the May 25th meeting, and then they can approach council next month. So that was the only thing that I was pushing a few things back so that we had time to talk with Baker Tilly and we're all better informed.
I think they probably still had the right to inform us, so we would be more prepared and be able to look forward ourselves too. That's my only thinking.
So there's probably a little bit of a balancing act there between whoever is setting the agenda, trying to have some discretion to, keep things orderly and moving. And then on the other side, making sure everybody has input on all that. So I don't know what the correct answer is, but.
Right. And more
We
to,
just want to make sure, we are here because of our citizens, so.
Right.
and more
we
to
need hear
Dennis's
their
point,
voices.
I don't feel either, just as Dennis, that the person setting the agenda is also in the same body. I think it should be separated out. You have somebody to bring the agenda and then a board to vote on it. A little too consolidated, in my opinion.
I'm not the chair, so I'm not trying to speak for you, but would it be possible, maybe kind of a good way to organize ourselves is if somebody comes like that, maybe you could just recommend to them like, hey, sure, I can put you on there, but I think it's a little premature. Can we wait a month or two? Let them decide. And if they say, no, I still want to be on it, then still be on it? Is that a little more of a?
I would think so.
I think
Even
I'd
if- just 'cause they're
recommend
on the-
sticking to the procedure we have in place.
As a point of
Yeah.
order, the Robert's Rules of Order is hard to control, but there are specific deviations made from it that were part of the agenda that was set by the council in 2018 and adopted in a public meeting. It would be my opinion that if a deviation is made from the adopted Robert's Rules of Orders, whatever was voted on should be the way that the procedure is conducted until such time as the body decides either to go back to a standard the president sets the agenda or to maintain that. So you as a body need to decide, are you going to maintain the status quo that was previously voted on or go back to straight Robert's Rules of Order?
Tony, do you have, it'd be you, so what do you?
Are you all right with
Do you
it?
want to do that or do you not want to do that?
Well, I remember when Dennis did that and it was passed, after the first of the year, February, I think, Yvette and I spoke, and she felt it would be easier for her to actually take on some of my duties, which actually helps me. It makes it easier for me because she gets everything prepared and gets to me, and I would selfishly say that it's less work on me this way, but if the council's looking for a compromise, I have no problem working with that to make sure that there's a checks and balances that we can have, that she and I can work out if council approves that we can, that way we would still be following the policy, but council president would also have her say or his say, whichever the case may be eventually. Yvette and I can work together on that, and if we discuss it, I think people will be able to come forward. think for the most part, they've just been asked to have their ducks in a row prior to coming. But I'm not aware, I think since February, pretty much, we just had people contact that as council president, because that's what was said. What month was that? February? I think it was a February meeting where council president said, this is what we're going to do, and that's what we've been doing. But then somebody brought up the county council manual, which Dennis started working on that, I think, in 2017. I think, 16 or 17. And he got all of that compiled, and then Ed Dyer and Steve Bailey helped compile the documents into a manual that was voted on and adopted in December of 2018. I mean, I remember I was president at that time, but Dennis did the legwork on all of that.
If we have a voted on procedure though, I mean, I agree with John, at least at this moment, we should probably stick to that until we, until or if we decide to change that. Because this body decided that, I mean, obviously before my time, but we should, to deviate from that seems like, that would be an issue.
So Julie, just to make sure I got that, so basically the standard is for the chair or president to do the agenda, but we specifically overrode that in 2018.
Correct.
And at the time, I guess that Dennis, you're probably the only one, you're the only one that's here from then.
The only one that's still on council.
Okay, so none of us were aware of that, obviously.
So you're in the council, and modify it as you see fit. That was the last thing that came to the public to modify a standard rule. So you have to either go by what is the last thing that was voted on and adopted by the body,
Or
or
change
to
it.
make a vote and change it.
With that, you probably have, what do you think? I mean,
It streamlines it the way we have it right now, because I can make sure you all get all the documents that you need a week before. In the past, it's not been, as you remember, it's not been that way. We weren't receiving anything until the day of, a lot of times. So this new way gives me the time to reach out to the department heads, make sure they have every document that they need, all of the grant application that we need to sign on it. I make sure that it's all ready for our department and Tony's. And then I do the minutes so that Tony doesn't have to do those. It makes it more efficient for us and for the auditor's office, and the department heads have all the information that they need in order to present it to us and have it ready for the auditor.
In all fairness, I wasn't the auditor back when you did it.
That's true.
so basically we have to just decide one way or the other what we're doing here. So either, okay.
So for this month, can we table that decision and give it some thought and see where we want to go going forward? But right now we do have, obviously it was put into that way for a reason. But we should do it the way it's supposed to be done if that's what it says. Because, I mean, it was voted on.
You were on council at that time, right?
I was.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
The policy, well, the procedure had been in place for many years prior to the actual formality of the document. And the auditor always put together the agenda. Part of that probably was because all the department heads were in and out of the auditor's office at regular times. We didn't have a chairman that was as accessible as Yvette is from time to time. They all had other jobs as you do. But that was the policy that we used for a long time, and we just formalized it in document form and voted on it when Dennis did the formal submission. That was actually my very last meeting on council. And I remember there's probably copies still laying around here somewhere of that. but it was formalized at that point. I think you could change it, but to change that, you would have to vote on it. You know, bring it up as a motion and vote on it. But that manual probably should be reviewed. In fact, I know we even had a spot on there, Dennis, to review it on a regular basis and bring any changes. One of the big changes I could see is that you all are over certain different department heads, and that could change from year to year, and especially with new people coming in and out. And that should be reviewed and put into that manual as well. But that specific point was always on there about the auditor setting the agenda.
Stan was on council at the time too. Yep. Don't blame me.
You'll also remember that the past meetings were 3 and 4 hours long before, and now I've streamlined it so that we can get out of here. I try to shoot for an hour and a half, 2 hours to try to get us out of here. So I've tailored the agenda to be more efficient for all of our times as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think this is a good public access to the county council. You know, council meets once a month. It's not like you're meeting every day or every week or whatever. You know, and I guess I think it's just good for the public and everybody to have access to the council to be able to present. You know, it's one meeting a month. You know, like if people have a thing and they can't get on the agenda, then they gotta wait another month. You know, so it's, and I understand sometimes meetings went long, so. But, you know, sometimes there's people wanna approach council, and I just felt like that's the public and employees, and that's their opportunity to approach council as a body. So
But I think we can still do both. We can be efficient with our time and give people the opportunity. We just need to make sure, you know, as you've been trying to do, keep making sure people have their ducks in a row and they're prepared. And we don't need to belabor the point up here as we've done some, because we've had some meetings recently that went three hours. So that hasn't always, you know, we've sat up here and beat a topic up pretty good a few times. So
I feel like we need to make a decision now, because I think at this point, no matter what you're doing, you're making a change. If you do nothing, you're changing because you're going back to what we were doing, before February. Or if
well,
you
I
make a
think
change,
that should still be working with, still be working with the auditor on that. That should always be happening, shouldn't it? I mean,
yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, always has been, always will. I'm just not comfortable with the stopgap as the council being the barrier to council.
Yeah.
Where the barrier, the separation of powers, if you will, should be somebody else, namely the auditor, so it's the way it's set up now, but any restrictive measures to get here shouldn't be us, as a council. So we're not held accountable for not being here. It's somebody, another department, another reason, but it's not council saying you can't get to council. It's
That if we stick with the way we've been doing it since February, but, would you agree basically that, we don't want to tell people, no, you can't be on the agenda unless they're just not prepared? I mean, if that's all it is, then it's like, just get this to me and then I'll get you on there. But other than that, even if you think this is the bad timing for it, like they should wait until later, you can still just tell them, I don't think this is the right timing, but if you still want to be on it, obviously I won't stop you. I mean, with that, if you do that, would that kind of solve the dilemma, and then we could, officially change it? Or do you guys want to officially go back to that way?
I just assume stick with what we have, honestly. I mean, if that's the way it's written, it's there for a reason.
but again,
And we would have to actually vote to go with what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If we walk out of here doing nothing, then it goes automatically defers back to the manual from 18.
Then that's where inaction is action. So you're making a decision one way or the other, I guess is what I'm saying.
But that should be still working with the auditor. I mean, pretty much hand in hand on that. So.
Which we do.
Well, I think the example, we discussed the tax software and discovered that, I mean, even though we would like it this month, we realized that June would work. The company is fine with June. So I think really, if you want to keep what is adopted in the manual, I can certainly set the agenda, but the auditor and council president, or in my case, when I was president, it was Bree, that I dealt with the most. Talk, email all the time about who wants on the agenda, what do we need, what documents do we need, all this stuff. So I mean, it could be, if you kept it the way it is, that would still work because Yvette and I do confer. I don't have the last say. I sometimes don't know who all has contacted her. So I don't know how that would change, but from the things that I do know, she and I work together. I'm not sure who has contacted her that wasn't added or anything. Well, I lied. I think I do know one. That's because I sent that to you and I don't see them here. So, you know, I'm just the auditor. You guys are the ones that vote on all of that. I mean, I do know, and I'm not speaking for Julie Marie, but as the manual states now, that's been adopted as policy. So if you want that to change, you could simply amend that portion of the document. Review it, revise it as you see fit, vote on it. Or you can not vote, and like Corey said, inaction is action, and it would remain the way that the manual states. And I haven't seen that manual for a little while, so there's like, who said there were some copies around? I think there might be some copies around still up somewhere.
I left mine in the drawer where Keith's sitting, so
But,
I'm sure there has to be one there somewhere.
I mean, I am at your discretion. I don't vote, that's a council thing. Get off easy there.
Yeah, you meant no offense, but I appreciate all the information you send. It's wonderful.
And we still want that, but it should be a collaboration between the two. But right now, we're not following a policy that was set by this very body.
So trying to find a middle ground here. I think there's also, other than Dennis, all of us are way in the learning phase. You know, myself, and I'm going to say Yvette as well, you know, been council president for what, 3 months, 4 months? So we're learning, and you know, you make little things here and there that might rub people the wrong way or whatnot, and we're all learning, all of us. So I'd hope, I guess, since, at least to get us to a place where we can actually make a decision and move on, I guess I would try and find a middle ground here and just say, can we let it keep trying what we're doing here? So I would make a motion to change that policy so that it goes back to the normal Robert's Rules of Order, with the caveat that the council chair isn't prohibiting things from coming onto the agenda. So it might be recommendations or discussions with people, but I agree we shouldn't be stopping people from coming here and having their voice heard. And they always have that option at the end, but you know, to have an actual spot on the agenda, I think I agree with you. We should not be stopping that. So, you know, at least we can decide what we're doing here. So I guess that'd be my motion for now.
Your motion's to amend it.
Amend it to go back to Robert's Rules of Order, yeah. And I say that, I guess I'll only make that motion, but I'd ask that first, like, are you agreeable to, you know, making that change? Like, don't stop people from being on the agenda. You can make recommendations and talk to them about trying to make sure it's organized, but, you know, are you agreeable to that?
Yes, the person that I'm thinking of, I just asked that they wait another month, that we talk about it the next month after we have the budget numbers, and then let the council make the decision just the next month.
Mm-hmm.
And any other decision, I bounce it off of you, I bounce it off of Tony before I make the decision. Kathy, you look like you want to say
No,
something?
I just remember, that, a couple times that people wanted on the agenda to come in for an additional, and they didn't really need to. They could have a transfer, and that was pretty well stopped because there was no reason for them to come in, and they weren't aware that, they could come in for a transfer. They didn't have to come in for an additional. They could just do a transfer and notify the auditor's office. So those types, I don't know if they've gone back and said, well, I wasn't allowed to speak, but
I wouldn't think so, but I mean, they should be notified if they don't need to come in front of the council. They don't need to, so.
But are you saying, am I hearing you say that somebody said they weren't allowed to come in, or they wanted to make a case to the whole council?
It's just,
Not just president, or is that, I'm not
it
sure.
was just brought to my attention that people could not, and I don't know if it's 1 or 10, that could not get on the agenda that wanted to get on the agenda. That's all I know.
I guess I'd like to give that the chance to try, and learn. We've been doing it for a few months now, and like I said, we're all learning. So, I don't get the impression that you're like my way or the highway on this. We're learning here, and that's how it works. So
I just asked for the June meeting. I already had them listed for the June meeting.
Sheriff, yes.
Yeah, I know, I had a conversation with that, and mine was all budget stuff related, and she said, look, we have this meeting, you guys are having this meeting with the utilities, which I knew of. She goes, we might not be able to give you an answer today, so I'm putting you, I have no problem, it saves me from wasting time, so, I appreciate that aspect of it, because you guys aren't ready to give us answers yet, so, fine, so, that's the only issue I've ever had, but it makes sense to me,
It's
so.
to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the issue. I've had no problem getting on agendas. I send her an email, she replies, I send stuff out. I mean, for me, it's worked out better. And I don't know if some of the department heads don't come in front of you guys a lot. Obviously, there's very few department heads that come to this meeting unless they have something. I try to come to this meeting like today. I'm not on the agenda. I'm here to listen, see what's going on. But this new way, once we understood this is how it's gonna be, for me, it's been beneficial. But like I said, for her to say, well, look, I don't want you on May, she didn't refuse me, she said, I wanna put you on, this is why, and it made sense. Cause all my stuff is pay raises and, an additional, and it was all budget, and you guys wouldn't be able to give me the answers probably today anyway, so, I've had no issues with the new way. I think the only issue was maybe us finding out how to do it the new way. It was kind of, you found out when you called him to do it, he said, well, I don't do that, and we got an email of that. So maybe that's what wrinkled some feathers or something, I don't know, but this system, for me, works better.
Part of the thing is too, I am also new as auditor. And I'm not sure if there's a line that crosses where Yvette's doing my job or I'm doing her job, because I'm new. So I've just been referring people to her regarding the agenda. However, we still have to do additionals and transfers and things like that. And then we get that to her. She knows the timelines that we have to advertise things, and get all of that done. So, I'm coming at this, the fact that she's doing part of my job probably makes my job easier. Now, is that fair? I don't know. Maybe I'm obligated or required to do some of those things that I don't know, because I'm new. But I think as long as people have the opportunity to get on the agenda, if they need to get on the agenda, I think as of right now it's working, but it's only been 2 or 3 months. Could something happen down the line, yeah. And I'm more than willing to continue to play a role in the agenda, which I have been. I mean, we have been, she sends it over to me, and I mean, I have every opportunity to question things, I suppose. I think the only difference is I don't know everyone that is contacting her because they email her directly. So I can't know, what's happening outside of my office. But from my standpoint and viewpoint, it's less work for me. Not that I'm being lazy or anything. But I think if you keep the policy manual the way it is, if she and I confer on that, the only difference is I send out the agenda, which I think I do now. I think our office actually sends the agenda out. So maybe Yvette and I can communicate prior to the agenda going out and go through it, and she can say, hey, X wanted on here, but here's the reason that I think they should wait another month. We can confer on that if that's what you want to do. Like I said, you guys are the council. You guys are the ones that decide and vote, and then I do whatever you tell me pretty much, but as long as it's legal. Check myself there.
Yeah, I love the flow of information, like I said, and the collaboration between you guys. I was just taken back, like I said, the separation. The council shouldn't be the roadblock to get to the council. And then I was unclear why. Was it broke before? Did you not like the way it was being done last time? I know you mentioned the
Last year,
time,
you're talking about
yeah.
last year? Yeah, because I had
Just
asked,
trying to
in
squeeze
order
up the
to
time.
make things more efficient, I had asked for someone to be moved from the very beginning to the very end of the agenda, and I was told it couldn't be done that way. Even though this was our meeting and I was running the meeting, I had asked for things to be changed on the agenda. I got some flack on that, so that's why I reverted to Robert's Rules of Order, which states that the president is in charge of their meeting.
I think that did ruffle a few feathers. The one thing that did ruffle, I think, the most feathers was having everyone come at 8:30 and sitting and waiting until their turn came. I did hear a brushback on that, but I told them that that's not me, that's council president that sets that. And Yvette, I discussed that with Yvette when she did it and told her why I didn't think it was a good idea, but it's not my, I felt like if you have everybody come at 8:30 and they have other appointments or there's a judge or something whose time is very limited, that she should work with them to get them on when they have to get on. But again, he's council president, I'm just the auditor, so I did hear brushback on that aspect of the agenda, having everybody lumped in at 8:30. I don't know if anybody else has heard any of that or not, but I have heard brushback on that.
Stan, you have a comment?
Just from a procedural standpoint, I know Dennis worked a long time on putting that policy together. And my only recommendation would be is if you want to change it, present the changes in writing so that everybody understands. And then that amended policy could be voted on, rather than just say it in motion. It might be more clear to people, so just from a procedural standpoint. So, like I say, if you take the current policy, make the proposed changes, present it to council, and that way, everybody would just be crystal clear on what your changes would be. I mean, that's all, would be only my recommendation, so that everybody's very clear.
I'd say that's probably a pretty good idea.
If we want to maybe amend, I'd be happy to amend my motion if you guys think it would be okay then to basically just say, all right, just so we don't change things in the middle here, because kind of what Dan was saying, I don't want to go this way, then that way, and then department heads be all confused about what's going on. If you just say for the next month meeting, let's let Yvette do the regular Robert's Rules of Order we've been doing. And at next month's meeting, we can have something maybe written up that we can look at a little bit more in depth. I don't know if that kind of gives us a short-term solution so we can get it in writing like Stan's asking for.
I'll second that. We just need to make sure that, if you're recommending to people and they can still get on the agenda, I'm fine with that as long as we're not denying people access. I think that's pretty important. That's one reason we're here.
Agreed. All right, so there's a motion and a second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion?
What was the motion?
Yeah, read the motion again.
The motion is basically for Yvette to do the agenda next month, and then we'll work on developing a written policy to vote on next month.
Okay.
I wasn't against you per se, I was just against the position regulating.
The main issue is the denial of people being on. It's not so much the position, it's the way it's being used is what it sounds like is where the issue is.
Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Anything else we need to talk about?
I would like to raise a point of concern. When I was on medical leave and being held together with 72 staples, it was interesting to watch from the outside, looking into the minutes and so on. And one of the things that concerned me is how we close our meeting. And I think that's a function of council rather than the president. And granted, it might be Robert's Rules of Order protocol, but it deviates from our standard operating procedure. And I would like to see meetings closed with a vote as opposed to terminating a meeting by way of your position or anybody who succeeds you. I think it's a democratic process. I think it's fair, and it actually serves the function of council because we decide when the meeting is closed, just as we are now by way of discussion and other matters. And I think as a fiscal and governmental body, I think it needs to be a function of council, not the president. And that my biggest concern is, I don't want to say an autocracy or anything like that, but the fact of the matter is, leaving it the way it is leaves the discretion of the meeting continue, even if there is worthwhile conversation, to close the meeting by way of whatever whim or concern that person sitting in that position may have.
That sounds like a legal question, so I don't know, we can probably just ask Julie on that one. Maybe, I'm sure you probably don't know off the top of your head, but that's probably not really one we have to debate. That's just a black and white on that, so. See what
You're
Julie
saying we
says.
have to vote to close?
Well, but that was the way we've always done it.
And I think what Yvette had said, if I recall that meeting, was you had looked in the Robert's Rules, I think, and basically if there's nothing left on the agenda and no one else has said any, there is open floor and no one is speaking, then I thought you had said by Roberts it just is closed. But again, I don't know why this matters, but I think it's a black and white, so we'll just defer to council on that.
I think that Robert's Rules of Order do not require a motion to be made if the meeting times are set and established. I think otherwise, though, it does require a motion to be made. At least that's my understanding of it. Because we do not have a specific end time for it, and it has traditionally been made by motion, I understand Dennis's point, and it probably could be more appropriately done that way.
Say we defer to council, whatever council says, I don't think it matters one way or the other, really.
So is that something else we could get documented just to make it clear for next?
That's fine.
Treat one as the same as the other.
make a motion to close.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Aye.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.